Feeling stuck? Yearning for more? You're in the right place. This is Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight, where you're going to get a weekly dose of courage, clarity, and maybe a little bit of chaos as we navigate our best chapter yet, midlife. Welcome back to Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. I am your host, Nicole. Today, we're going to talk about difficult conversations. And I'm going to be honest right from the start. I'm not here to sell you a fantasy story about difficult conversations. There isn't a magical formula that makes these conversations comfortable or even simple. I call them difficult for good reason. But what I can promise you is by the end of our time together, you will have a set of practical, real world tools that will make these conversations more manageable. You'll understand the architecture of a conversation that actually works. You'll know how to prepare yourself, and you'll have strategies for what to do when things get inevitably messy. So this isn't about perfection. It's about courage. It's about learning to be imperfectly honest instead of perfectly silent. Because here's the thing, ladies. When we talk about difficult conversations that we've had decades of practice avoiding them. We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for keeping the peace, for being nice, for swallowing our words. And today we're going to talk about how to unlearn that training, one brave conversation at a time. So why is this so hard for us specifically? Why does the thought of difficult conversations send a jolt of anxiety through the body of a capable, intelligent, grown-ass woman? It's the result of a lifetime of reinforcement, a perfect storm of conditioning that has been brewing for decades. Think about it. From the time we were little girls, most of us got the message loud and clear. Nice girls don't make waves. We've learned to be the family peacekeeper, the one who smooths things over, the one who manages everyone else's moods. In our friendships, we've learned that rocking the boat could lead to drama or exclusion. And even in our teen years, the stakes felt even higher. Being difficult or dramatic could get you socially ostracized. So we learned to shrink our needs, to read the room obsessively, to prioritize being liked over being heard, and to laugh off the things that actually hurt us. So by the time we hit midlife, that's 30, 40 years plus of practice. Practice not saying what we really think. And that isn't just a habit, it's muscle memory. And now the stakes feel even higher. We're not talking about a borrowed sweater. We're talking about things like grown children, long-term marriages, careers that we've invested decades in, or even our aging parents. The potential for loss feels enormous. And it's a conditioning of the culture we're in, family patterns, and high stakes relationships. No wonder why it feels impossible. This conditioning is held in place by a powerful, pervasive myth. The belief that difficult conversations damage relationships. We believe, often unconsciously, that if we speak up, set a boundary, express disappointment, that we will harm or even destroy our connections. So we stay quiet, telling ourselves that we're just protecting that relationship. But here's the real truth. Difficult conversations aren't what damages relationships. The avoidance of them is what damages our relationships. Every time you don't say what needs to be said, a little bit of resentment builds, a little more distance grows. The authenticity of the connection decreases, and the relationship becomes more superficial. You might think you're keeping the peace, but what you're actually doing is slowly dismantling genuine intimacy. Because intimacy requires truth. And you can't have real closeness with someone when you're constantly editing yourself. And this core myth is supported by a whole collection of other lies that we tell ourselves. There's the myth of, if I have to say it, it doesn't count. The fantasy that people who love us should be mind readers. There's the perfectionist myth. I need to say it perfectly or not at all, which keeps us endlessly rehearsing and never acting. And then there's the myth that healthy relationships shouldn't need this, when in fact, the opposite is true. Healthy relationships require difficult conversations to stay healthy. It's the relationships where no one ever says anything difficult that are usually in the most trouble. We also tell ourselves that we can control how someone responds if we say it just the right way, or we should wait until we're not too emotional to have this conversation, or that having needs just makes us difficult. And all of these myths create a dangerous bind. We believe that speaking up will damage the relationship, while staying silent actually just erodes it. Of course, the uncomfortable reality is that sometimes being honest does end a relationship. But if a connection requires your silence to survive, it was never a relationship where you could truly be known or loved for who you are anyway. So what makes a conversation feel so difficult in the first place? It's rarely just one thing. It's the gap between what you need to say and what feels safe to say. It's a combination of factors, a topic that carries emotional weight, a person who has a history of not responding well, a power imbalance, and a real fear of the potential outcome. So think about it with me. The same topic, let's say money, as an example here, can feel easy with a trusted friend, but maybe impossible with a family member. The person matters. And some people have earned our trust. They've shown us that they can handle our honesty without punishing us for it. And with them, even the hard topics feel manageable. But others? We've learned, often through painful experiences, that honesty comes with consequences. Maybe they get defensive. Maybe they shut down. Or maybe they turn it around on you. If you've learned that being honest with someone typically goes poorly, your nervous system is going to treat that conversation as a threat, because based on past experience, it kind of is. The power dynamics matter. Conversations are harder when there is a power imbalance. Talking to your adult child about something that bothers you, that's different than talking with an aged family member who maybe you're caring for. Both are hard, but the power dynamics create difficult and different challenges. Understanding what specifically makes your difficult conversation feel so hard is a crucial first step. Different problems need different solutions. Naming the source of the difficulty is the first step towards disarming it. And this is where we need to talk and insert some Moxie. Because in the context of difficult conversations, Moxie is the sweet spot between being a doormat and being a bulldozer. It's the courage to speak your truth while respecting the other person's humanity. It's being honest without being cruel and firm without being rigid. Most of us start with the people-pleasing approach, softening our message so much that it gets lost. We apologize for having needs and immediately back down at the first sign of resistance. And when that fails for years, we might snap and swing to the aggressive approach, blaming, attacking, and making demands fueled by accumulated resentment. This only creates defensiveness and it damages trust. The Moxie approach is the grounded middle path. It's clear, direct, and respectful. Let's take a common scenario. A friend who is consistently late. The people pleaser says, "Hey, I know you're super busy and it's not a big deal, but maybe if you think you would be late, could you just text? But only if it's easy." The aggressor says, "I am so sick of you being late all the time. You obviously don't respect my time. What is your problem?" And the Moxie approach sounds like this. "Hey, I need to talk to you about something. When we make plans and you arrive 30 minutes late, I feel disrespected. Going forward, I need you to either be on time or let me know in advance. This is important to me." Do you hear the difference? It's clear, it's firm, and it's honest without being apologetic or accusatory. It works because you're treating both yourself and the other person with respect. And Moxie has a few key elements. It's clarity without cruelty. You're direct about what you need without attacking their character. It's confidence in your right to speak. You're not apologizing for having needs or taking up space. It's willingness to be uncomfortable. You're not trying to make it easy or painless. You're accepting that discomfort is part of the process. It's respect for both people. You matter and they matter. And it's groundedness, not reactivity. You're speaking from a centered place, not from accumulated rage. And you build this Moxie muscle by starting small, sending back food at a restaurant that's wrong, correcting someone who interrupts you, stating a preference instead of saying, "I don't care." Each small act of courage builds evidence that your voice matters. So now you might be asking yourself, how do I do this? And this begins with preparation. So how do you prepare? This isn't about scripting a perfect speech. It's about getting your head and your heart ready. So first, get clear on your why. Before you say a word, you need to know why this conversation matters. Not the surface reason, but the real one. What will continue to happen if you don't have this conversation? What do you hope will change? And if it helps, write it down. Because in the middle of the conversation, when things start to get uncomfortable, you need to remember why you're doing this. Second, separate facts from stories. We often build up whole narratives in our heads about what the other person thinks or intends. Take time to identify what actually happened, the observable facts versus the meaning that you have assigned to those facts. For example, "My friend didn't respond to my last 3 texts" is a fact. "She's mad at me and pulling away" is a story. You can speak to the facts. The stories need to be checked, not assumed. Third, know your bottom line. What's the one thing that you absolutely need to communicate? If the conversation goes sideways, what's your core message? Boil it down to 1 or 2 sentences. Everything else is just elaboration, but this is the essential truth that you need to express. Fourth, manage your physical state. Don't go into a difficult conversation hungry, exhausted, or already activated. It may help to take a few deep breaths. Notice in your body where you may be holding tension. Ground yourself. Your nervous system is going to react to this as a threat, and that's normal. But you can help yourself by making sure that your own basic needs are met. And lastly, don't over-prepare. If you've rehearsed what you're going to say 47 times in your head, you're probably overdoing it. And when you over-rehearse, you get attached to how you think it should go. And then the actual conversation throws you off. Have your opening line and your bottom line. That's enough. Ready enough is ready enough. And once you've done that internal work, you're ready. Here's what actually works. This is the structure of a difficult conversation done well, and it's surprisingly simple, and it has 5 parts. Name it. Start by signaling that you need to have a real conversation. You might want to say, I need to talk to you about something. 2, state the facts. Describe the specific, observable behavior. When you canceled our plans at the last minute, as an example. 3, share the impact. Use an I statement to explain how it has affected you. I felt hurt and like I wasn't a priority. 4, state what you need. Make a clear and specific request for the future. Going forward, I need you to give me at least 24 hours notice if you need to cancel. 5, invite a response. Open the floor for them to share their perspective. Maybe asking them, how do you see this, is an approach you would take. So as a reminder, the formula is when insert specific behavior, I feel, insert emotion. What I need is insert specific request. It's a framework that can keep you focused on your experience, not on their character, which reduces defensiveness and keeps the conversation on track. And of course, even with preparation and a great structure, conversations can go sideways, and conversations often go sideways. But knowing what to do when they do is half the battle. When they get defensive, your job is to slow down and reassure them. Some sentences that you might want to say. I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to share how this has impacted me. Don't get defensive back at them. Don't match their energy. Stay calm. When they try to deflect by bringing something up that you did, gently redirect. Maybe saying something like, I'm willing to talk about that, but right now, I need us to stay with this. Don't take their bait. Keep redirecting back to your original point. And if they cry, you can pause without abandoning the conversation. Saying something like, I can see this is hard. Let's take a minute. And this can be tricky because women are especially conditioned to immediately comfort and drop everything when someone cries. Don't immediately back down or say, never mind, it's fine, just to stop their tears flowing. Give them the space to feel their feelings while still holding that this conversation matters. And if they get angry, set a boundary, saying something like, I need you to lower your voice. I can't continue this conversation if you're yelling, may be helpful. Don't yell back, and don't get smaller and apologize just to de-escalate. Their anger doesn't mean that you did something wrong by bringing this up. And if they go silent, give them a beat, but not forever, saying, I need you to respond, even if it's just to tell me you need time to think. Don't fill the silence by backing down or over explaining. And if you're the one that gets emotional, that's okay. Your feelings don't invalidate your point. You might just want to say, give me a second, because this is hard for me to talk about. Don't apologize for crying. And don't minimize what you're saying because you're emotional. You can always hit pause and take a break, saying, "This is getting intense. Can we take a 10-minute break and come back?" Might help, because your job isn't to control their reaction. It's to control your response to their reaction. But how do you know when a conversation is even worth having? This is where you must learn to trust in your body. There is a profound difference between avoiding a conversation and discerning that it's not even worth your energy. Avoiding feels anxious and incomplete. It may be a tightness in your chest or racing thoughts about all the terrible things that might happen. Waiting for the right time that never comes and making excuses for why not now. Feeling small and powerless, and relief mixed with resentment when you don't say anything. Your body is telling you, "I'm scared of discomfort, but I know I need to do this." Discerning, on the other hand, feels sad but settled. It's a quiet, grounded knowing in your gut, a sense of, "This isn't worth my time or energy," which is a clear-eyed acceptance of reality. A feeling of, "I've said what I can say and the rest is up to them." And it's peace, even if it's sad. It's a feeling of being complete. Your body is telling you, "I'm complete here and there's nothing left to do." So you may want to ask yourself, if I don't have this conversation, how will I feel in 6 months? And notice what happens in your body. You might feel your stomach tighten, or you might have feelings of resentment that rise. And if something feels unfinished, that's avoidance. It's your body's message telling you this conversation needs to happen. Or you may feel calm, clear, like you've moved on regardless. That's discernment. It's your body's message of just saying, "You're done here." Have the conversation when your body says, "Not yet finished." When the relationship has a foundation of care. When the silence is causing more harm than honesty would. And when you'll regret not trying. Walk away when your body says done. When the pattern of harm is crystal clear. When the cost is too high. And when you're seeking something that they can't give. The difference between avoiding and discerning: avoiding feels anxious and incomplete. Discerning feels sad but settled. Trust that. Your body knows the difference. And I've learned this lesson in my own life over and over. I've spent months trying to force difficult but necessary conversations with family members about planning for their future. And I kept running into a wall of resistance and stress that made me physically ill. My body was screaming at me to stop, and finally I did. I learned that sometimes the most difficult and wisest conversation is the choice to stop talking. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you recognize you can't want change more than the other people involved want it. You can't force readiness, and you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. And years ago, I was denied a promotion for a very nonsensical reason, only to be offered the same role on a different team as a consolation prize. My logical brain told me to take it, but my body was screaming no. And I ended up listening to my body. I turned it down. And the manager who offered it was furious. For months thereafter, she gave me the cold shoulder. But later, I was promoted to a different team with leaders who valued me. And at the time, that no really felt like career suicide. But it was a true act of self-trust that created space for something far better. These experiences have taught me that difficult conversations aren't just about what you have to say. They are about what you're willing to stop saying, what you're willing to walk away from, and what you are willing to trust in yourself. So this work isn't about being a perfect communicator. It's about the willingness to be imperfectly honest. It's about deciding that your truth matters as much as anyone else's comfort. It's about recognizing that the discomfort of authenticity is far more sustainable than the exhaustion of silence. So your homework this week is to start small. Build your Moxie muscle. Trust your body. You don't have to get it right every time, but you do have to be willing to give it a try because your voice matters, your needs matter, and you deserve relationships where your truth is welcome, even when it's uncomfortable. That's all for today, and I will see you on the next episode of Midlife Moxie with Nicole Haight. Before you go, I want to make sure that you know how to stay connected to this work, because what we have talked about today, this is just the beginning. If you're sitting there thinking, holy shit, she just described my entire life, and you want to know exactly what patterns are running the show in your life, I've created something specifically for you. You can head on over to my website, www.nicolehaight.com, and take the assessment, which sacred pattern is running your midlife. It's a free diagnostic tool that will tell you exactly where you are in your own conditioning and what your next steps should be. There's no fluff, no generic advice, just precise information about your specific patterns. Because here's the thing, you can't interrupt what you can't see. And most women are trying to change their lives without understanding the deeper nervous system conditioning that is actually driving their choices. If you want to dive deeper into these conversations and connect with other women who are also done performing their way through life, you can join my private Facebook group. Link will be in the show notes. And it's where we have conversations, real, raw, unfiltered truth about women in midlife. And if you want to be on my VIP list for weekly doses of truth that maybe help keep you accountable to your own transformation, there is a link in the show notes, but there's also a link at my website, www.nicolehaight.com, where you can sign up to be on my email list. This isn't a typical newsletter filled with tips and inspiration, though I do include that from time to time. This is a newsletter where I share hard truths, insights, raw, unfiltered things that are just not socially acceptable on social media. And these awarenesses that you can take away from what I share can be a catalyst for change. So I invite you to sign up. And if you're ready to go even deeper, because you might be tired of all of this surface level work and you really want a whole system level transformation, everything you need to know about working with me is on my website, www.nicolehaight.com. I'm not a coach, and this isn't coaching, and it's not therapy, and it's sure as hell not spiritual bypassing. This is a resurrection of the nervous system. And this is for the woman who is ready to stop performing and start living. You can also follow me on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at I am Nicole Haight, where I share reminders about conditioning and women and midlife, confronting truths and desires that are just frankly not up for negotiation. So next week we will continue to have discussions that likely will make some of you squirm. It is what I'm best at. But if this episode shifted something for you, do me a favor and leave a review. Not because I need an ego boost, but because there are women out there who are Googling, why do I feel invisible in my own life at 2 a.m.? And your review might be what helps them find this podcast.
Your review could also be the breadcrumb that leads another woman out of performance prison and into her own resurrection. So until next week, remember, you don't need permission to want what you want. You never did. That was just conditioning dressed up as consideration. You're a woman in midlife. You don't need permission. You just need to have desires and wants and the ability to go after all of them. So stop asking and start claiming.